right. First of all, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations on your win. You are Miss Universe Singapore. Clap, 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 clap. I know you must be very busy these days. Do you have school today?
Right now it's my break week. So it's like the midterm break we have between the terms. So it's still fine. But yeah, school is pretty hectic and I have to deal with that.
Where do you go to school?
I'm studying at Singapore Management University. I'm a third year business management student.
Right, exciting stuff. So tell me about this beauty pageant. Tell me all about it. Like, what's been the most memorable thing for you here?
So the beauty pageant, when I first joined, I didn't think I would win actually. So I went in just, it's a new experience. Let me try, let me see how it feels. Because I just really wanted to push myself and try something new at first. But it's been such a wonderful experience with all the different kinds of shoots we've done and like the opportunities it's given me. I think you've asked me what's the most memorable moment. I would say we did have a shoot on a cruise, which was really interesting and exciting because number one, everyone's been stuck at home with the pandemic. So to be out there on a cruise, even if it's just for a photo shoot, it was just really exciting. And the second was because I'd never done a swimsuit shoot before. And I think everyone knows that swimsuit is like kind of an integral part of the Miss Universe components. So it was really exciting for me to feel very confident in that swimsuit. And initially I was a bit hesitant or scared because I was like, what if I don't look good? What if, it's not like a beach body or whatever they call it. So
what? You look great. You slayed that.
Thank you. But yeah, initially there was a bit of like hesitance from my side, but once I put it on, I realized that, it doesn't matter what you look like, as long as you feel good in what you wear, that's what's important.
But have you always wanted to be a beauty queen? Is it something that you wanted to be when you were a little girl?
I wouldn't say, I know for a lot of people, being a beauty queen or competing in like Miss Universe is like a childhood dream that they had, they grew up watching it. But I would say it's not something I grew up watching or like aspired to be when I was younger because my parents were a little more on the studious side, a bit bookish and nerdish. So they were like, you need to study. So that's kind of where I focused on. And so beauty pageant to me back then was just like, a fancy dress competition. That's what it felt like. But then more recently, once I actually got into modeling and got into this like industry, I realized that it's not just beautiful women in beautiful dresses, but there's a lot of like benefit that you can get by competing in this competition, not just for yourself, but you can also give back to the community because of the sheer like the large platform that it gives you. So once I realized that it's not just looks based and it's much more than that, they really want to develop you as a woman and like help you achieve your dreams. So once I realized that there's more to it, it became something that I wanted to try out and hopefully pursue.
Yeah. Speaking of modeling, congratulations on that Louis Vuitton gig. You must have been proud of that, right?
Yes, it's very exciting because it was the first runway event that I ever did, and it was for Louis Vuitton, and I was so shocked that they even like wanted me to be a part of that. So it was a really great experience.
Yeah, I can imagine it's a huge deal. It's huge. Yeah. And you also look shocked when you got when you won. I saw the video on your Instagram of you being crowned. How's the pageant filmed? Because it was completely virtual. And then, but after everyone wore their gowns, do they put their gowns away and just hang out at a restaurant and wait for the result? What happened?
So usually a pageant is like a big live event where all the different components like the dress and the swimsuit and the question answer happen on the same day. But because we had COVID restrictions happening and I think there were restrictions on the number of people that could be on set and things like that. So we filmed the whole competition over a span of a month. So instead of doing all the components on one day, we did a swimsuit shoot on one day. And then a week later, we did the dress and the question answer. And then a week later were the results. So we filmed it in different components and the wonderful editing team put it all together to make it seem like it seamlessly flowed. So the finals that you saw in the video where I'm wearing this like beautiful pink dress was filmed separately from the day we found out the results. So we filmed all the items and then we went home and just waited along with everyone else to find out the results live when we watched the show with everyone.
And then once everyone got to know the result, did everyone gather again and then to see you receive the crown?
So for the finals day, all of us, at least the finalists and our national director and creative director, we all met for a socially distanced viewing party / dinner. So we watched the show together, and that's when they brought out the crown and did a small recrowning moment, I would say, in real life, once we actually found out who the winner was.
Yeah. How do you feel about winning? I know you were shocked, you were stunned, lost for words in the video, but yeah, how do you feel?
I think at first I didn't expect it, or I didn't realize that it was actually happening. I thought there must be a mistake, because I thought my competitors
Can someone check the papers?
Yeah, like
a Steve Harvey moment.
Yeah, because I was like, wait, what's going on? Because like the competitors I was competing with, my finalists, they were also very strong competitors. Like compared to them, I thought surely one of them would win. I didn't expect myself to win. But once I did win, the national director, creative director, everyone was talking to me how they understood why I was chosen by the judges, because they saw me as a very strong candidate, and I speak well, and they were very impressed with my Q&A answer. So hearing all that feedback, because during the process we didn't get much like feedback from them. They did share with us where we could improve, but sitting there and hearing from them that they thought I was a strong candidate made me feel very like confident in myself. It really boosted my perception of myself, because I think often we're our own like worst critic. Like we tend to find all these faults and nitpicking everything we do because we know ourselves the best. So understanding how everyone else viewed me as a beauty pageant candidate, it really made me feel like, okay, maybe I do have a shot at this, and maybe this is something I could be good at.
Yeah, and so many people are talking about you right now that you have won the crown. I'm seeing even people in India, people in Indonesia are writing about you. How do you feel about, it must have been weird, right? Like suddenly everyone's talking about you. How does that feel with this newfound fame?
Yeah, so the finals happened on a Friday, the September 17th. And then the next 2 days, I didn't get a chance to do anything else except for like picking up calls and thanking people for congratulating me, and speaking with all the people who were like contacting me to congratulate me. So it was just like the whole week after that was so overwhelming in a good way, because like suddenly people who I haven't spoken to in years were reaching out to me, telling me, you did a great job, we saw your show. And it really meant so much that like people who you're not that in contact with, and even my closest friends, everyone was being so supportive. And it just made me feel like it's nice to have this support network, and it's nice to know that people care about me. So that was like a wonderful outcome, I guess, of winning the crown, that all these people who I hadn't contacted before came back into contact. And it was really nice to see like the community support, I would say, because like I am an Indian immigrant and I'm first generation Singaporean citizen, but my parents did move here to find a better life. So it was nice to see that people back in my parents' hometowns and like my extended family who lived in India, they were also super excited for me. And I think it just shows that like, even though I'm representing Singapore, they don't feel like, oh, I'm like competing against India. They just care about me and how well I'll do as an individual. So it's really nice to see that people are supportive no matter where they come from for my journey.
Yeah. How did your family react to your win? Do you have siblings? Or are you?
I have one younger brother. He's studying in Canada right now, so he wasn't here with us when my parents were watching the final. But he was like in the early morning for him because of the time difference. Yet he still watched the show, and he was calling me right after saying, "Oh my God, you won! That's so crazy!" And he was going around telling his university friends like, "My sister won this thing." And they were like, what's going on? Because this is not something that a teenage boy would usually get excited about. But I think they found that funny. But for my parents, while I was at the viewing party, my parents were watching the show at home. And my mom said that my dad had cried for the first time because he was so proud of me. And that really shocked me, because my dad never shows any emotion. He's like a very stoic person who always just like very work-oriented or very like goal-oriented. He doesn't really show his emotions. So it was really touching to hear that he got so emotional and proud of me, and yeah, it just made me realize that my parents support me and love me a lot.
You said that your parents, your family's roots are in India. Where exactly in India? And do you go back much?
So
pre-pandemic, of course.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of a lot of Indian people in Singapore are from this state called Tamil Nadu, but mine is a state in South India called Andhra Pradesh. So my parents were born and brought up there, but then they moved to Hong Kong for a while, then they moved to Singapore. So now I think they've been here half their life. So yeah, it's been a while. I do go back there every year because before the pandemic, of course, because I have my grandparents there who are quite old. We like to take care of them a bit. And also we're kind of the nearest family that they have, because my parents have other siblings, but they're based all over the world. Like some of them are in US, some of them are in other countries. And Singapore is quite close to India, so we take the time to go and visit them and take care of them. So hopefully once the pandemic passes, and we have a lot of extended family as well who we like to visit. So hopefully after the pandemic passes, we can pay them a visit.
Yeah. Is it how different? What is it like in where you're from compared to Singapore? Like, I mean, Singapore is always so clean and like but what is it like there? So
I think there's definitely like a very stark difference, and I find it a privilege to have like experienced both these like types of societies, because then I know more about the world and I know more about like how people live their lives. I think Singapore is like a very structured society. We have our rules, we have a very like strict regulations for our own benefit, I would say, and it's a very smooth process here. Like everything is cleaned in the morning. All our facilities run on time. So it's something that I think every country kind of like aspires to be, to have a very like efficient and convenient system for their citizens. Back when we go back to India, it's not as like efficient, I would say, but it is still a developing country. So like they are making the efforts. Like it's one thing I do notice about my time in India is that the community spirit is very strong there. Because in Singapore, although we talk about the kampong spirit, it's hard to sometimes be together when we're all like super busy lives, very hectic city life, and we don't really find the time to connect with our neighbors. Like sometimes people don't even know the names of their neighbors or like hang out with them. Everyone's just busy with their lives, and it's like a rat race here, which is like there's no good or bad. There's always like a different kind of life, and there's always pros and cons to different kinds of life. But I find in India that there's a like strong sense of community where people take care of each other, and because life may be a little slower there. So that's something I kind of look forward to when I go there, because when I go to my grandparents' house, even all my grandparents' friends and who live around her will come and visit us, and like we'll sit and gossip about other people. So there's that slow nature of life there that sometimes you might not find in Singapore, because it's so hectic and we're always running from one thing to another.
Oh gosh, yes, I am jealous of that slow pace of life. Okay, so there is, there are sometimes Singaporeans, so the reactions that we get online, some Singaporeans can be pretty xenophobic and racist, which is a shame. I hope nothing of that sort has happened to you recently, or has it, or are you able to share?
I haven't received any outright like racism, like no one's like, stopped me on the street and said something to me or anything. But I know there's some like threads online, like in forums, where they're not too happy that an Indian girl of immigrant heritage is like representing Singapore, because they still see me as if I have like a strong connection to India, because like, yes, I do have family there, and we all are like an immigrant nation anyways, because if you go a few generations back, everyone at some point came here looking for a better life. It's not like we just appeared here one day and we've been here for generations, So I think they don't realize that even though I have immigrant heritage, I've been here my entire life, and I was born and brought up here, and like I cannot imagine living anywhere else other than Singapore. So it's like this is my home. Like if you ask me what is home, I would say Singapore. I would say my neighborhood. I would say the parks around me. So it is a bit sad that they don't see me as like Singaporean enough. I've talked about this before, where they don't see me as Singaporean enough to represent Singapore. And they think only someone whose family's been here for generations is considered a true Singaporean. And maybe that if I was given the chance, I would just go back to India. But like, if I wanted to do that, I would have done that already. Why stay here? Why live through like, the hectic Singaporean life if I didn't really want to be here? I enjoy being here. So I hope that they can realize that doesn't matter what time period you came to Singapore, ultimately the fact that you live here and you contribute back to society makes you a true Singaporean. So I hope people can realize that and not think that I'm not Singaporean enough. Yeah.
Totally agree. And I'm so sorry that there are some nasty people out there with nasty things to say to you. You're amazing and we're already so proud of you. And yeah, totally. Speaking of racism, last year, the Miss Universe Singapore contestant wore this costume that had the phrase "Stop Asian Hate." So she was addressing racism in that manner. Do you what do you think of that? And how do you feel the pressure to like step up on your national costume now? Like, is the pressure there?
I think it was a very strong statement to make and a very bold one as well, because no one really expects a country like Singapore to make such a bold statement. I think it was very much needed back then because there was a lot of Asian hate going on, especially with the COVID virus. That's when it was first happening a lot. But I would say in terms of that statement applies more on an international level, because there are countries where Asians are the minorities, and so there's a need to push the message of stopping Asian hate. But I think in a more Singaporean context, there need to be a bit more nuance to that statement in realizing that mostly we're all Asians here. So if you say stop Asian hate, it's kind of a blanket statement that doesn't really cater to the specific situation in Singapore. I think we need to be a bit more understanding of the unique situation here and understand that we need to stop like hate or racism against specifically the minority groups that are in Singapore, which is usually brown people. So I think we need to take a more nuanced message when applying that to Singapore, and instead of just saying, oh, we should stop all Asian hate, we should be more nuanced and say, let's not be racist to brown people specifically, or the other minority races in Singapore, because there'll always be that majority privilege that people have simply because they're in larger number. But we need to take that step to make sure everyone has an equal life in Singapore. And because Singapore always talks about meritocracy and a level playing field, so we need to be viewing everyone as equals as well. So that's something I was thinking about. And in terms of whether my national costume will have a very strong political message, that's something I'm still thinking about, because I don't want it to be a competition or like a one-up thing where Belle has done a very political statement in 2020. I need to do an even stronger one in 2021. Then it's just going to escalate from there. So I think there's other things that I could portray in my national costume, like the different natural features in Singapore or our culture or our people. But racism is definitely a very strong talking point that I want to bring to the conversation. Like this is a very strong cause that I support, like eradicating racism. So even if I might not show it in my national costume, it'll definitely show in the work that I do over the 1 year.
Cool. So I guess you get to help design your national costume. You're working with the designer, and so you've got some ideas laid out, and give us a bit of like a teaser of how it's going to look.
So we are definitely like brainstorming and trying to come up with it right now. And I get a very strong say in it, because ultimately it's me who's gonna wear the costume and like represent the country. I need to be confident and I need to be comfortable with what I'm wearing. It's not simply a pretty dress that they put on me and I just walk in it. I need to connect with the message of whatever it is the national costume is trying to portray. In terms of what it will have, I can't reveal anything yet. We're trying to keep it under wraps until the actual show, so it's like a big reveal. But we're definitely playing with some ideas of touching on Singapore's history, especially before Sir Stamford Raffles and like the whole British and Japanese colonization. I think it would be interesting to talk about Singapore's roots. And another idea we're kind of playing with is using sustainable materials, because Singapore as a country, we're moving a lot towards sustainability. How can we ensure that we leave lesser of an impact on the environment? So we're thinking of how can we use like scrap materials or recycle water bottles, those kind of materials to make the national costume so it's a bit more sustainable and has that message to it as well.
Cool. Do you have any like past costumes that you like?
Costumes, I've actually never worn a grand costume before. There was this one time in secondary school where there was a national costume designing contest, which is it sounds very similar to this Miss Universe national costume, but we had to, I think it's on my Instagram, but we had to create a costume that represents Singapore for National Day using recycled materials. And so I made a skirt out of newspaper and like a headpiece out of old wires or something to represent the esplanade, which is like very pokey and like it has all these sharp features. So that was what the skirt was supposed to represent, and Gardens by the Bay with the super tree. So it was like on my head like this. So that was very long ago, and it was a really fun experience to do with my class. But other than that, no grand costumes that I've done so far.
Wow, so you do have experience designing costumes.
It was a group effort. It was very fun, like a bonding experience for my class to come up with that. Yeah.
Cool. So what happens now until the final round, which will be in Israel? Mm-hmm. What do you do to prepare yourself? What do one person do to prepare themselves for a pageant?
So there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes in order to prepare someone for such a big international final. There's definitely a lot of training in terms of how you present yourself, how you catwalk, how you do your makeup, your hair. Sometimes it's also like redesigning the way you look based on, what the team here thinks would be your strongest look or something that brings out your features. So there's a lot of planning in terms of what kind of looks you should do, what kind of clothes you should wear, what kind of image you want to portray of yourself. So these are more logistical and skills based, but there's also a lot of discussion on what causes you stand for and how you want to brand yourself. So there's really a lot of reflection that I guess the other contestants will also have to do to think about what we want to stand for and what is the image that we want to bring for ourselves and how we want to represent our country through that image. So Singapore is a very cosmopolitan, very metropolitan city life. So how would I bring that modern woman aesthetic and meaningful vibe to portray that to people? So that's something we have to plan and think about. So I think we only have like a month and a half or 2 months to do this. So with my school, I'll have to manage both of them.
Okay, I know that in pageants, they always have the popular question round. Mm-hmm. I have like 2 questions, like to test you. So let's say they ask you this question, see how you answer, okay? Okay, the first question is, what do you think should be done to address climate change?
I think we need to hold businesses more accountable for climate change, because not only do like individual households contribute to it, but it's also like businesses and industries also contribute to climate change. I think there's a lot being done on an individual level, like recycling and reducing the amount of electricity we use and things like that. But we really need to work together as a community in all aspects of our life, business, government, households, to ensure that everyone is doing their part to reduce climate change and really leave less of an impact on the environment.
Amazing. That's a really good answer. Girl, you are ready for this. Okay, I have another question. Okay, another question would be, if you could meet a prolific figure who passed away, who would that be and why?
Interesting question. I think I would like to meet Lee Kuan Yew, who is the founding father of Singapore. I wouldn't say founding father, but he really did develop Singapore into the country that it is today. Although he was alive when I was around, I didn't get to meet him. So I think it would be really enriching for me to speak with him and understand why certain policies were set in place, or what was his vision for Singapore. And I think our country has changed a lot, and especially with the pandemic. I would like to know like what he would think would be a good path forward for us after the pandemic. So I think I would want to become.
Actually, I might want to know his thoughts too.
How would you deal with all of this? So that's just something I'm curious about.
Yeah, I think so many Singaporeans are as well. Wow, that's awesome. I think you will definitely win question round.
Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
But have you been to Israel before? Have you traveled there before?
No.
Awesome. So when do you fly there?
So we haven't received the actual official dates for the show, but I'm assuming it's going to be mid-December. So I'll have to go there at least 3 or 4 weeks in advance. We also don't know if there will be a quarantine week needed because, COVID restrictions. So I might have to fly there mid-November.
Do you have any expectations about your trip?
I think the one expectation I have is just that it will be fun and such a new experience for me. And I'm just going there with the expectation of making a lot of memories and meeting all these different women from all over the world. Like I don't think I'll ever get the chance again to meet so many people from so many different countries all in one place. It's really a very unique experience, and hopefully I get to speak to all of them and learn about their lives, what they work towards, and we learn from them as well, because some of them have been in this pageantry circuit and also in their jobs as well for a long time. So I'd like to learn from them. It's not just the experience for me to go and showcase myself, but also to learn from other people and be better myself. So that's the only expectation I'm setting for myself. I'm not going to set like an expectation that I have to win or I have to, get that prize. Like I think I like to take life one step at a time, just to try day by day and see where I end up, just to try my best every day.
All right. Yeah, man, like whatever it is, have fun. I'm pretty sure they've got like a slew of things and activities all scheduled for all of you. Make new friends, I guess. You already made us proud by winning the Singapore title for this year. So yeah, just have fun. And thank you so much for joining us today. I think that is about all the time that we have. But good luck on everything. And congratulations once again. Thanks, Nandita. Good luck.
Coconuts TV.